Did you know that in the United States, 1 out of every 3 people over the age of 70 lives alone? That number might sound simple, but behind it lies an entire story. Living alone after 70 is not just about who cooks dinner, who changes the light bulb when it burns out, or who drives you to the doctor. It's about something deeper. How to keep feeling joyful, independent, and purposeful, while the world around you changes every single day. We Americans have always valued personal freedom. We take pride in having worked hard our whole lives so that in retirement, we can finally live the way we want. But when we reach our 70s or 80s, freedom sometimes comes hand in hand with loneliness. A home once filled with laughter may now feel quiet. Family dinners may turn into quick meals in front of the TV. And some mornings, when you wake up, there's no one beside you to share last night's dream with. Science shows that loneliness isn't just an emotion, it has real health consequences. A famous Harvard study revealed that chronic loneliness can be as harmful to your health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. It raises the risk of heart disease, stroke, and can even shorten your lifespan. In other words, living alone isn't the real danger. Feeling completely alone is. So, how can we Americans in our 70s and beyond turn living alone into a chance to stay free, independent, yet not swallowed up by loneliness? The answer might come from a country halfway around the globe. Japan. The Japanese are known for having one of the longest life expectancies in the world. Like us, they face an aging population, and many of their seniors also live alone. But here's the difference. They don't just live long, they live well. They stay active, joyful, and remarkably independent. In today's video, we're going to explore what the Japanese do to transform old age into the most meaningful chapter of life, and what we, as Americans, can learn and apply for ourselves. And before we dive in, let me ask you something. If one day you had to live alone after 70, what would worry you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your story just might help someone else out there feel less alone. Living in America, independence is second nature to us. From a young age, most of us leave our parents' home to stand on our own. We build careers, families, and households of our own. But by the time we reach 70, that very independence can bring a new challenge. The fear of facing old age alone. Picture this. You wake up in the morning, the kitchen is silent, and there's no one asking if you'd like coffee or tea. In the afternoon, when it's time for a doctor's appointment, you have to call a cab or drive yourself, even though your eyesight isn't what it used to be. At night, you sit in front of the TV, wanting to share a funny memory, but there's no one sitting next to you to listen. It's not a tragedy, but it's enough to make the heart feel empty. For Americans, this is even more pronounced. Western culture values independence, and many older adults don't want to burden their children. A recent AARP survey found that more than 50% of Americans over 70 choose to live apart from their families. That sounds strong and independent, but here's the reality. Over 40% of them admitted they feel lonely at least a few days each week. Science confirms this too. Long-term loneliness increases the risk of heart disease, diabetes, and even Alzheimer's. A study from the University of California found that older adults who frequently feel lonely are 45% more likely to die within 6 years compared to those with strong social connections. That means Loneliness doesn't just weigh on the spirit. It can literally shorten life. And the fear isn't just about not having anyone to talk to. It's also about dependence. Many Americans over 70 quietly ask themselves, what if I fall at home? What if I have a heart attack when no one's around? Who will take care of me when I can't take care of them myself? These are the questions that keep many seniors awake at night, even if they appear cheerful and strong during the day. The truth is, living alone at 70 in America can bring both freedom and fear. Freedom because you can live life your way, without anyone telling you what to do. Fear because one day you may become too weak to keep that independence going. And this is why we need to look to the world around us, to communities that have found ways to balance independence with happiness. Japan offers one of the clearest examples. Their population is also aging rapidly, and many older adults live by themselves. But instead of letting loneliness take over, they embrace a life philosophy that keeps them happy, healthy, and independent. That philosophy is called ikigai, which means a reason to get up in the morning. In the next part, we'll uncover how ikigai has helped millions of Japanese seniors live long, vibrant, and meaningful lives, even when they live alone in a small house. By the time we reach our 70s, most of us are living in homes filled with memories. Old photographs, that familiar recliner, souvenirs from past travels, even clothes we haven't worn in years. We hold on to them all, as if each item carries a piece of our life story. But did you know? Science shows that a house crowded with too many things doesn't just make cleaning harder, it can also directly affect our mental health. A study from Princeton University found that clutter in our living space increases stress, reduces concentration, and can even push the brain into a state of anxiety. Here in America, we've grown up surrounded by abundance big houses, plenty of rooms, and the comfort of having more than we need. But as we age, too much stuff can become a safety hazard. One extra chair blocking the hallway, or a stack of old magazines left on the floor, can turn into the cause of a dangerous fall. According to the CDC, every year, more than 3 million older Americans are hospitalized because of falls inside their homes. And many of those accidents are linked to clutter or to objects we simply no longer need. In Japan, however, there is a fascinating philosophy: minimalism. The belief is simple: keep only what truly brings you joy, and let go of the rest. A tidy home is not just easier to clean, it also brings a sense of peace to the heart. This is the spirit behind the famous Marie Kondo method, which spread worldwide from Japan. So, what lesson can we Americans over 70 take from this? It's not that we need to keep everything in order to hold on to our memories. True memories live in the heart, not in dusty belongings. Letting go of unnecessary objects doesn't mean forgetting the past. On the contrary, it allows us to live lighter, freer, and more comfortably in the present. Start small. Clear out clothes you no longer wear. Donate items that could serve someone else better. And keep only a handful of truly meaningful keepsakes instead of clinging to everything. You'll find that your home feels brighter, safer, and more breathable. A minimalist living space is the foundation for maintaining independence after 70. A tidy home means fewer chances of falling, less stress, and more freedom. Most of all, it reminds us that happiness in old age doesn't come from holding on to everything, but from knowing what to let go and cherishing what truly matters. In the next part, We'll explore another Japanese secret, their traditional diet. And you may be surprised at how the foods they eat every day help them live longer, healthier, and sharper lives than many of us do. Aging doesn't just change our hair and skin, it slows down the entire metabolism of the body. Eating at this stage of life is no longer about eating until we're full, but eating to stay healthy. And when we compare the American diet with the Japanese diet, the differences are striking. And those differences explain why the Japanese live longer and with fewer diseases. Americans often eat a lot of red meat, processed foods, refined sugars, and saturated fats. From breakfast pastries with sweetened coffee, to lunch with hamburgers, pizza and fries, and dinner with barbecued meats and mashed potatoes, our meals are calorie-heavy but nutrient-light. It's no surprise that obesity rates in the US are much higher than in Japan, and that heart disease, diabetes, and high blood pressure have become the biggest threats to American seniors. In contrast, the Japanese have long followed a simple but balanced traditional diet. Plenty of fish, fresh vegetables, soy products, seaweed, fresh fruit, and very little processed food. They don't drink soda every day. They don't overload on sugar, and their portions are smaller. This keeps their digestion smooth, their weight stable, and lowers the risk of heart disease, diabetes, and cancer. So what lessons can we Americans over 70 put into practice? First, add fatty fish to your meals like salmon, mackerel, or sardines. These are rich in omega-3s, which reduce inflammation, protect the heart, and support memory. Studies show that people who eat fish 2 to 3 times a week have a 30% lower risk of stroke. Second, don't forget leafy greens like spinach, kale, and arugula. They're loaded with vitamin K, calcium, and antioxidants that strengthen bones and keep eyes sharp. Instead of drowning them in heavy dressing, try lightly sautéing them with olive oil or adding them to a simple soup. Third, embrace soy and fermented foods, the backbone of Japanese meals. In America, it's easy to find tofu, soy milk, or miso at the grocery store. These are light, plant-based proteins that are easy to digest, help balance hormones, and lower cholesterol. Also, replace refined sweets with healthier options. A handful of blueberries, a slice of grapefruit, or a few almonds. These snacks taste great while giving you vitamins and fiber your body needs in later years. The key is not to turn your meals into a Japanese diet copycat, but to learn how to eat slower, more thoughtfully, and with better balance. Remember, every bite you take after 70 is either medicine or poison, and you are the one who decides which it will be. In the next part, we'll talk about another powerful factor for aging well: natural movement. The Japanese don't spend hours at the gym, yet they remain strong and flexible. What's their secret, and how can Americans learn to apply it to our own lives? When we think about exercise, many Americans picture gyms, high-tech treadmills, or intense workout classes. But the truth is, after 70, our bodies aren't built for that kind of heavy training anymore. Just one slip on a machine, or one overly sharp twist, could lead to an injury that may never fully heal. The Japanese take a different approach. Gentle, natural, but consistent. They rarely go to gyms, but they make movement part of everyday life. Walking to the market, taking the stairs instead of the elevator, gardening, cleaning the house, or practicing their simple morning exercise routine called radio taiso, just 10 minutes long. Yet it wakes up the entire body. This steady, natural movement is their secret to staying flexible, avoiding aches, and maintaining strength well into old age. Here in America, many people after 70 spend much of their time sitting in front of the TV, at the computer, or in the car. We move less, sit more, and grow increasingly dependent on convenience. But that convenience can cost us. A study from the National Institute on Aging shows that seniors who stay physically active every day can lower their risk of falls by 40%. And they live longer on average than those who remain inactive. The key isn't how long you exercise, but how consistent you are. Just 20 to 30 minutes of walking around your neighborhood, tending a garden, or doing light housework, all of it counts as movement. And the beauty is, these activities aren't only good for your body, they also nurture your spirit. Breathing in fresh air, feeling sunlight on your skin, or watching flowers you planted bloom, all of it makes you feel a few years younger. In Japanese, there's even a concept called neighborhood walking, strolling through your own community while greeting neighbors. This small habit keeps them socially connected while keeping their legs strong. We Americans can easily do the same. Take a morning walk, bring along your dog, or simply step outside to breathe in the day. And if you prefer something more structured, gentle yoga, tai chi, or simple balance exercises at home are excellent. These practices don't demand much strength, but they improve flexibility and stability, two of the most important factors in preventing falls as we age. If you already have a morning exercise routine, share it in the comments. Your story might inspire hundreds of others to keep their bodies strong after 70. If there's one longevity secret the Japanese have carried through generations, it's the power of community. In small villages across Japan, you'll find people in their 80s and 90s still regularly attending clubs, joining tea groups, or simply sitting together to chat in the evenings. They don't see old age as a time to retreat, but as a time to connect. And in America, many older adults live in isolation, partly because children and grandchildren live far away, partly because we've grown so used to independence. But that very separation creates an invisible emptiness in the heart. According to the National Institute of Mental Health, Americans over 65 experience depression at rates 20% higher than younger age groups, largely due to loneliness, feeling forgotten, or feeling they are no longer part of the community. Another study from Brigham Young University revealed a shocking number. Loneliness increases the risk of death by 26%. That means lacking friends or a sense of community can be even more dangerous than smoking or being overweight. The Japanese understand this well, and they have a beautiful word for it. Moi, a lifelong circle of friends who share life's joys and struggles together, supporting one another through old age. These moi ensure they never face loneliness alone. And this is something we Americans can learn. You don't have to go to Japan to build your own moi. Right here in the US, there are countless ways to create community for yourself. Join a church or faith-based group, where you'll find both spiritual comfort and companionship. Sign up for a retirement club, dance class, or art workshop, where you can stay active while sparking creativity. Volunteer at a library, hospital, or community center. The sense of still being useful is the best medicine against depression. The truth is, friendship after 70 doesn't need to be complicated. Just one friend to call in the evening, one neighbor to walk with in the morning, or one small group to share tea with on weekends. These little connections are enough to keep your heart warm. So, if you're living alone, don't think you have to be strong enough to never need anyone. On the contrary, opening your heart, reaching out, and sharing with others is the very thing that keeps you healthy and keeps you alive longer. If you already have a close friend after 70, share that story in the comments. Your story might encourage someone else out there to step out of silence and rediscover the joy of friendship. If there's one life philosophy that helps the Japanese move through old age with grace, it's wabi-sabi, the art of finding beauty in imperfection and accepting the natural flow of life. Here in America, we're bombarded with the idea of anti-aging. Commercials on TV, ads in magazines, even the aisles of our local pharmacies are filled with products that promise to erase wrinkles, restore youth, or stop aging. We're conditioned to believe that beauty means looking young, smooth, and wrinkle-free. But the truth is, aging is inevitable. And the harder we fight it, the more exhausted we become. The Japanese see it differently. To them, wrinkles aren't flaws, they're proof of a life well lived. When a ceramic bowl cracks, they don't throw it away. They repair it with gold, a practice called kintsugi, turning the break into the most precious part of the piece. In the same way, silver hair and trembling hands and weathered skin are the golden cracks of human life signs that make each of us unique. This may sound poetic, but science backs it up. Research from Yale University found that people who hold a positive outlook on aging live an average of 7.5 years longer than those who see aging as a burden. So how can we, as Americans, bring the spirit of wabi-sabi into our daily lives? Instead of frowning at the mirror over wrinkles, smile and remember that each line represents a memory, a moment of laughter, or a summer spent under the sun with family. Instead of clinging to the past, focus on the small joys of today. A hot cup of tea, a golden sunset, or the sound of birds outside your window. Instead of trying to force yourself to look young, embrace the peace that comes with age. More time to love, to connect, and to slow down. Wabi-sabi isn't just a Japanese philosophy. It's a reminder for all of us. True beauty isn't in perfection, but in authenticity. When we learn to honor old age with all its marks, we discover freedom and peace. So if you're in your 70s, try seeing yourself through a new lens. Each wrinkle doesn't diminish you, it makes you one of a kind. Each sign of age doesn't take beauty away, it gives you a deeper, quieter beauty. That is the gift of time. In the next part, we'll talk about another vital lesson from the Japanese, the balance between independence and asking for help. This is something many Americans overlook, yet it can completely change the quality of life after 70. Independent, but not isolated. If you ask Americans what they're most proud of, many will say independence. We grow up in a culture that teaches us to stand on our own 2 feet from the moment we leave home for college to the years we build careers and families. Independence is a core value, a source of pride and a mark of American freedom. But after 70, that same independence can quietly become a trap. Many older Americans live alone, but refuse to ask children or neighbors for help. They're afraid of being a burden, afraid of bothering others, and afraid of losing the strong image they've carried their whole lives. What's the result? Long nights lying in bed, growing weaker, but still refusing to call anyone. Trips to the grocery store, straining to carry heavy bags despite aching backs and knees. Falls in the bathroom with no one there to help them up. In fact, see, DC data shows that every year, hundreds of thousands of older adults end up in the emergency room after falling at home, many of which could have been prevented if they had allowed themselves to ask for help. The Japanese view this very differently. They value independence, but they don't see asking for help from children or friends as weakness. To them, it's simply part of the life cycle. Parents care for children when they're young. Children care for parents when they're old. It's not a burden, it's the natural continuation of family love. Science supports this too. Studies from the University of Michigan show that older adults who balance independence with openness to support have better mental health, less anxiety and depression, and a higher quality of life because they're not carrying the weight of everything alone. So what can we, as Americans over 70, learn? First, remember that asking for help doesn't mean losing independence. In fact, it's the smartest way to preserve independence longer. When you let others handle the heavy lifting, you save your strength for the lighter tasks you enjoy, like cooking a meal, taking a walk in the park, or reading a good book. Second, be open with your children, friends, and neighbors. Sometimes all it takes is saying, "I'm feeling a little tired today. Could you pick up a few groceries for me?" You'll find they're not bothered at all. In fact, they'll feel glad to be able to care for you. And finally, trust that letting others help doesn't make you weaker. It makes relationships stronger. Human beings were never meant to live in isolation. We were created to connect, to support, and to share the journey of life. That is real strength. In the final part, we'll close with an inspiring reminder. Living alone after 70 doesn't mean living in loneliness. It can be a chance to live more deeply, more independently, and more peacefully if you know how. We've just walked through a journey together, from the fears many Americans face when living alone after 70, to the valuable lessons we can learn from the Japanese. Finding a reason to wake up for each morning. Ikigai. Simplifying and decluttering our homes. Eating healthier. Moving naturally. Staying connected with community. Embracing imperfection. Wabi-sabi. And learning to balance independence with receiving support. And now, you may be asking yourself, can all of this really change my life? The answer is yes. Because aging isn't the end, it's a new chapter. And you are the one who decides how that chapter will be written. Living alone after 70 doesn't have to mean living in loneliness. It can be a chance to listen more closely to yourself, to slow down, to choose what truly matters, and to rediscover joy in life's simplest things. A warm cup of tea in the morning, a good book by the window, a phone call to an old friend, all of these can become sources of happiness. The Japanese have shown the world that old age can be the most beautiful time of life if we know how to live it. And we, as Americans, can do the same. Because happiness isn't about how many people are around you. It's about how many meaningful reasons you have to live each day. If you're hearing these words and feel them resonate, remember this. You are not alone. Somewhere out there, millions of Americans are also crossing into their 70s, also learning to live independently, also seeking ways to stay joyful and healthy, also striving to make each day fuller. You and they, we're all on this journey together. And before we close this video, I want to leave you with one reminder. Allow yourself to live honestly with old age. Don't try to turn back the clock, and don't be afraid of the future. Live each day fully with gratitude, with connection, and with joy in the simple things. That is the secret to making your 70s, 80s, and even 90s some of the most radiant years of your life. If you found this video helpful, please hit subscribe and share it to spread inspiration for beautiful living after 60 and 70. And don't forget to leave a comment. What do you believe is the most important secret to staying joyful and independent in later life? Your answer might become the encouragement someone else truly needs. Thank you for joining me. I'll see you in the next video, where we'll continue uncovering the small but powerful secrets that remind us old age is not the end, but a brand new beginning.